Let's start. Q Jump, 2021, 1-3. Page 64 Number 1. It was about 10 o'clock when the great boxer Sugar Ray Robinson finally drove up. Sugar Ray Robinson. I was so thrilled that for the first time in my life, I was speechless. When I pulled myself together, I walked up to Mr. Robinson and told him how far I had come just to see him and how long I had been waiting to get his autograph. Robinson. I told him that I was going to be the heavyweight champion of the whole world, and that he was my hero. But he never really looked at me. He gave me a quick pat on the shoulder and told me, later, boy, I'm busy right now. I was crushed. I couldn't believe he brushed me aside like that, especially after I had waited all day for him to show up. I felt as if my feet were made of cement. I couldn't move. I just stood there as I watched Sugar Ray Robinson turn his back to me and walk away. Sugar Ray Robinson. Page 64 Number 2. The human compulsion towards the community and communal life is revealed in institutions whose forms we do not need to understand fully, for example in religion, where group worship creates a bond between members of the congregation. Just as the conditions of our lives are determined in the first place by the facts of the universe, further conditions arise through the social and communal life of human beings and the laws and regulations springing from it. The needs of the community govern all human relationships. Communal life predates the individual life of humanity. In the history of human civilization, no way of life has emerged of which the foundations were not laid communally. Human beings developed not singly but in communities. This is very easily explained. The whole animal kingdom demonstrates the fundamental law that species whose members are individually incapable of facing the battle for self-preservation gain additional strength through herd life. Page 65 Number 3. Killer whales have been observed in all oceans and seas, but are more prevalent in the coastal waters at higher latitudes. Although reported in both tropical and offshore waters, killer whales prefer colder and more productive waters of both hemispheres, and are found in greatest abundances at high latitudes. Along the west coast of North America, killer whales occur in British Columbia and Washington inland waterways along the entire Alaskan coast. British Columbia, Washington. They also occur along the outer coasts of California, Oregon, and Washington. California, Oregon, Washington. Killer whales are black with white underparts. There is a white spot on each side of the head, just above and in back of the eye. Their dorsal fins are sharply triangular and very tall, reaching up to 6 feet in height. 6. Killer whales can reach up to 31 feet in length. 3.1. Like sperm whales, killer whales are unusual among cetaceans in that males reach a much larger size than females. Page 65 Number 4. Fear is directly linked with desire. The stronger we desire something, the more intensely we fear losing it. Urged by various instincts, we strongly want, desire, and need both material and immaterial things. These range from life itself and the presence of loved ones to wanting fame, fortune, power, prestige, love, arts, sports, and so on. Each of these provides us with a different sort of pleasure and satisfaction, and life becomes richer and highly desirable, and the thought of losing these objects strikes fear in our hearts. Depending on which we cherish the most, we fear losing that the most intensely. Death, in particular, puts an end to these attachments and their related joys, and thus, people normally fear death the most. Page 66 Number 5. Nowadays, scientists distinguish among species using methods based on evolutionary descent. Earlier methods were less precise but more colorful. The word monkey did not enter the English language until the 16th century. 1-6. Prior to then, the word ape was the only common term for primates other than human beings. The difference between apes and human beings was never clear either. If somebody called you an ape, it might not be just a metaphor. In History of Four-Footed Beasts and Serpents, and Insects, published in 1647, Edward Topsell included the satyr and the sphinx among apes. The term included any creature that was almost human but not quite. 1647 History of Four-Footed Beasts and Serpents, and Insects. Edward Topsell. This sort of definition, and not a conventional biological one, must be used when looking back over the old stories of apes and monkeys through the centuries. Page 66 Number 6. When rabbits were imported to Australia in the middle of the 19th century, the result was more than a few cute little bunnies added to the continent, Australia, and rabbits. 19, plus. Rather, the result was a whole new Australia, one in which entire species of plants were wiped out and in which erosion, caused by rabbits destroying vast areas of grassland, changed the very landscape. Just as adding a drop of poison to a glass of water changes the molecular structure of that entire glass, the addition of rabbits to the continent changed the entire ecology of the nation. Technological innovation is much the same. It is not additive but ecological. North America after the introduction of the telegraph was not simply the old North America plus the telegraph. Instead, it was a whole new continent. Today, we know that America plus the Internet is giving us a whole new nation, one that is radically different from the one before it. Page 67 Number 7. The traditional Chinese manner of producing tea was anything but industrial and had remained unchanged for hundreds of years. Small producers in the countryside sold their tea to local middlemen. The tea then traveled to the coast, carried by boat along rivers where possible, and by human porters over mountain passes where necessary. Finally, the tea was purchased by merchants who blended it, packed it, and sold it to European traders at Canton. All the middlemen along the route took their cut, together with the cost of transport, tolls, and taxes, that brought the price paid for each pound of tea to nearly twice the original producer's selling price. 1. An enterprise that produced its own tea in India, however, could pocket the difference. Furthermore, applying the new industrial methods, running plantations as though they were tea factories, and automating as much of the processing as possible could be expected to boost productivity, and hence profits, still further. Page 67 Number 8. Existing travel information systems, such as electronic signage on motorways, are designed to consider travelers as crowds, lacking any form of personalized information format and delivery. Moreover, most advanced traffic management systems rely on a centrally controlled infrastructure and information source. These two characteristics hinder the development of trust and credibility of the particular systems. Indeed, a travel information system that more often than not delivers information unrelated to someone's journey, gradually becomes noise in the traveler's environment. According to experts in transportation research, the reaction of drivers to electronic signage messages decreases over time, showing a potential distrust of the displayed messages. An information system that relies on a single source of information is at risk of becoming untrustworthy. Incidents where wrong or inaccurate information is delivered by the single information source would damage trust levels on the system as a whole. The end. Good job.